Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing a discussion video about a book that I recently read that also had a film adaptation also recently released, and that is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Susan Collins, which is a prequel novel to the original Hunger Games trilogy, also by Susan Collins. So we started the book off with 18-year-old Coriolanus Snow, who we know as President Snow from the original Hunger Games trilogy. And he is a student at this prestigious academy in the capital. And he is tasked with being the mentor for the female tribute from District 12. And that's pretty much the basis of the story. I'm going to go into spoilers because I do have a lot I want to talk about. So my non-spoilery feelings about this book, it's actually changed a lot over the last few days, because I think I finished the book about a week ago at this point, and I think at the end of it I gave it 4 stars because I do have a little bit of gripes, but in the end I changed my rating to 5 stars, and the reason being is because I have not been able to stop thinking about this book since reading it, and it's rejuvenated and rekindled my fascination and my obsession with the original trilogy. And I will be delving into the trilogy again, and I do plan on doing a video about that. I bought a whole new box set back here of paperbacks, so I can annotate and see if I can wrap my head around this whole political schema, because the things we learn in here, the parallels to how we see them in Panem and 64 years later is just incredible, and I'm just so excited to see those threads. So if you have any interest in the Hunger Games, I do very much suggest reading this book. I think it gives a lot of context. The world building in this book is impeccable. We get a lot of backstory about the Hunger Games. We have a very interesting examination of a narcissist, because Coriolanus, as we know, is a horrible person, but he's not so bad in the beginning of this, but then you see him spiral and keep spiraling and keep spiraling. And the end of this book really shook me to my core and really disturbed me quite a bit. There's a lot of things about this book that disturbed me. And so I actually saw the movie also this week. I saw on Thanksgiving. We didn't do Thanksgiving until yesterday on Saturday, so I had that day free. So I treated myself to a movie, and I went to see The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So just my spoilery feelings about the movie is, it's my favorite movie of the year. I was taken aback by how incredible that film is, and I'm not surprised that it's good because Francis Lawrence, who directed Catching Fire and the 2 Mockingjay films, directed it, and I think we can all agree that the Hunger Games films are some of the best book to movie adaptations that exist. I think they're incredible. I think they are the level of quality that book to movie adaptations deserve, and so that's no exception to Ballad. We have Tom Blythe as Coriolanus Snow, and we have Rachel Zegler as Lucy Gray Baird, who I didn't talk about the characters, but basically Coriolanus, he's called Corio in the book by multiple people, is a very, like I said, it's an examination of a person who is extremely narcissistic and very manipulative, and you just see him spiral into just a complete monster by the end of this book. It's very subtle, but it's definitely there, and by the time you shut this book, you can see how someone like that can be the evil dictator that he is in the original trilogy. So Tom Blythe was able to portray that beautifully, and I do think that he did a great job, and Rachel was also great. But I will talk more about the movie later. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but just I think the story is very thought provoking and emotion inducing. So I'm rambling, but I need everyone to go read this book and come back, because it's just so fascinating. It's so interesting. So if you haven't read the book, I'm going to go into some spoiler territory talking about characters and whatnot. And so go read it, come back, and hopefully we can have a really good conversation about this book. So I am going to go into spoilers now, and I hope to see you guys again soon. See you later. Okay, I'm gonna put the book down because it's getting kind of awkward to hold, so we're just gonna leave it there for now. So I kind of went through the plot and everything in the beginning, but I'm just gonna delve word vomit pretty much about the rest of my feelings. So there was quite a bit of it was a very disturbing read, which is not something that was necessarily shocking, but the amount of darkness that is in this book is, I would argue, more dark than the original books. And I think that's just Suzanne Collins developing as a writer, because I think if you look at reviews for Ballad, it doesn't have the most amazing ratings, and I think it's because people are going into this story with wrong expectations. Because if you look into Suzanne Collins as an author, she is an army brat. She grew up with a military family, and she's very fascinated with human nature in terms of war. And so when she has something she wants to talk about, she will write a book to talk about that topic. Wow, that was kind of a jumble. So the original trilogy is Suzanne Collins exploring the idea of war theory, or just war theory. And I will delve into that more when I read the original books. I do plan to try and vlog my experience, but I've been horrible with vlogging lately. So we'll see if that happens, but that is my plan. So yeah, just war theory is kind of the Kindle for the development of the Hunger Games trilogy. And from what I believe I read, Ballad is more of an examination on human nature and whether we're all inherently good or if we're all inherently bad. And I think that's not a new topic at all. I mean, many books in various different genres talk about this. But I do think a book like this is the best iteration of that examination that I think I've read, because there's a lot of fantasy delves in these types of topics, but it's fantasy and it's not the most grounded world to play with these themes. And that's what's scary and very disturbing about Suzanne's books, is that at least the Hunger Games series, you could see all of this stuff happening in the future, because there's people that exist in our society today that act and behave the way that they do, like President Snow, for instance. So the examination of a narcissist as manipulative and scary as Snow was very fascinating, and it was very interesting juxtaposition between him and his spiral and him with Lucy Gray Baird, who is a very free spirit. She is the antithesis to Katniss, which is a very interesting parallel when you not only read the book but watch the film as well. I think Lucy is the complete opposite of Katniss, and it's very interesting because she does hold a huge impact as well. Not to the same extent as Katniss, because Katniss sparked the entire revolution and inherently ended the Hunger Games era, I'll call it. And but I think the thing is, this is a story of survival. I mean, in terms of Lucy's side of things. So she kind of just has to do what she has to do in order to make it out of the arena. And you have Choreo, who he does have a very interesting moral battleground in his head, because there are instances where he does question the morality of the games, but not enough to do anything about it, really. It's more of him just thinking of, yes, this probably isn't the best way to heal, but I need power. I need to claw myself out of poverty. I have all these goals that I want to accomplish, and I will sacrifice anyone, and I will do anything to accomplish that. And that's why the end of the book is so scary to me. I guess I'm just going to jump to the end, because we have the whole situation with Billy and the rebels from District 12, and they were going to escape, and Lucy and Choreo get caught up in this scheme where some of the rebels die because Choreo kills them, and Choreo is now scared out of his mind that he's going to be deemed as a traitor to the Capitol, that he's not going to be able to head back home with his family. So he plans on running away with Lucy at the end. And when he finds out that Lucy actually took the weapons and they're able to swipe the evidence that doesn't plant him there, this is the part of the story where I was just at a loss for words, because the switch is immediate. He's all in love. He's all gung-ho about running off with Lucy. But then when he finds the guns, that switch goes off. And he basically throws everything they had away in a heartbeat. And he's willing to kill her to keep his secret. And just the way that at first she was everything, and then in just that second, he's like, she's very disposable. I don't need her. I don't want her anymore. It's just really scary. And the fact that Lucy was able to pick up on that and try to get away was good. And I think a lot of people would assume that she died because Choreo did shoot her. But I like to think that she was able to get away. And I do hope that she was able to live somewhat of a good life, but that's hard to say. And I do hope that she was able to see the end of Snow in Mockingjay. So there's that. Some of my favorite characters in the story were definitely Sejanus was my favorite character. He is the voice of reason. He is someone who came from the Capitol, or he came from District 2 and grew up in the Capitol, but he never identified with the ways and views of them. And he wanted to do everything he can to help the rebel cause to overthrow this government, because he doesn't agree with anything that's going on here. And it was really good to see someone like that in Choreo's life, but the problem is that Choreo doesn't really agree with anything that he was doing or saying, and it ended up really betraying him in the end. And his death scene just really shook me to the core, and it was messed up. It was sad. And I wish I'm tearing up just thinking about it. I wanted him, he deserved better. he was just such a wonderful soul, and I just wanted him to succeed. And I know I really wanted him to have been able to witness the fall of snow. That would have been really satisfying. But he was hanged on the hanging tree, with the jabber, or the mockingjays, I should say, with the mockingjays repeating his cry out to his mom. Oh, it was so sad. But he was probably my favorite character. I just really identified with him, and I really admired his strength and vulnerability, and his compassion was just so visceral. I felt everything, and I wished he could have stayed with us longer. And then we have Lucy, who is our second main character, I would say. And it's very interesting because I don't know if she actually loved Snow or not. I think she knows that she needed him in the games to keep her alive, and they were able to bond in that sense. And there is development romantically, but again, I don't know if that's necessarily a genuine relationship, or if they were both using each other. I think by the end, you figure out that Koryo really didn't. I don't think he has the compassion to love, or the ability to love. And he does say that at the end of the book, that he thinks love is a weakness, and he hopes to marry someone he hates, so he doesn't have to deal with the betrayal of someone you love betraying you, or something along those lines. And Lucy had a hard life, and it's very interesting that she won the games the way she did, because I honestly, before reading it, I thought Lucy would die in the games, and I didn't really know how the story was going to play out. So she's a smart cookie. She did what she could, and she was also a very compassionate woman who has a rebellious heart, but not in the same way as Katniss. But she is a musician. She sings quite a few songs in not only the book but also the film. But Rachel Zegler is also a fantastic singer. So that portrayal of Lucy in the film was just wonderful. And again, I hope that she was able to escape Snow, and live life to the fullest after she escaped. So but here, let me talk about some other characters that are really terrifying. Dr. Gall is a sadistic person. She's horrifying, and it makes it even more horrifying the fact that Viola Davis plays her in the film, and she was incredible. She was so scary, and she's one of these. She's the game maker in this during this Hunger Games, and she's open to the ideas of how to keep people engaged, because at this point it's 10 years after the initial first games, and people are losing interest, and she has these academy students try to figure out ways to make it more entertaining, more accessible to people in the capital and the districts. And Koryo comes up with all these ideas of, betting on tributes, and doing the interviews, and doing things like the cornucopia that will come into play later on in the series. And she's just very horrifying, and we don't really get a full arc with her, but she does become his mentor at the university, which explains a lot. She really helps develop and hone in on his dark mentality, and I want bad things to happen to her. She was a very scary person to read about, and she has these points where she asks Snow what the Hunger Games are for. And it's a very philosophical discussion about morality and whether or not death, like killing people for the sake of keeping peace, is the most efficient way to go about these discussions. But it goes very in depth in the book, and it tries to do that in the film. But I think this is very much more developed in the novel. But yeah, she is just horrifying, and I hope that she met a very dark end, because I don't like her at all. And then we have Dean Highbottom, who is the dean of this college, or of this academy, I should say. And he's kind of like the sponsor-ish. Well, he was the creator of the Hunger Games. And you could tell this whole thing destroyed him, because it's very interesting that the idea of the Hunger Games was an accident. And the fact that an accident turned into thousands and thousands of people being killed over a 75-year period is just baffling to me. But the dean really doesn't like the Snow family, and it turns out that Snow's father was his partner in the academy, and took his ideas, which Highbottom never intended on turning in. He turned his papers in to, I don't remember exactly who received the papers, but they loved the idea of the games, and he inherently got credited with being the inventor of the Hunger Games. And you could tell that really destroyed him. And for that, he hated the Snow family after that. And so there's all these very sinister discussions between him and Koryo, and you wonder why he doesn't like him so much. But then when that's discussed at the end, it's just mind-blowing. And again, it's just very hard to wrap my head around that this everything that happened was because of a rant, or was an assignment that was born out of anger and just a rant, someone just venting, and had no intention on turning it in. And it's just sad, because if Snow minded his own business, none of this would have happened. So that's just very, very sad to me. Okay, I'm going to very briefly talk about the movie, because I'm still wrapping my head around it, because I just watched it. I need to watch it again. But I loved the movie so much. I walked out emotionally drained. It wasn't uplifting. It felt just like the book. Like, I think the book, as great as it was, I really loved it. I think the movie did a lot of things better, like the whole Hunger Games part, which, is not surprising, because reading about it isn't necessarily the same as seeing it. And there were lots of differences between how it was handled in the book and how it was handled in the movie. It was a lot quieter in the book, but you can't really do that in the film, so things were a lot crazier. And I want to talk about the games themselves, because that's one part of this movie that, to me, it felt more violent than any of the other Hunger Games films. And I guess that might make sense, because you get swept up in the spectacle of everything in the original films and in the original novels. Because, you have, like, the Catching Fire arena, for example, is a clock in the middle of a tropical island. You don't have that here. So essentially, post the 10th games, or pre the 10th games, they basically are in a dome there's no doors. You're just in a dome, a small dome at that, and it's pretty much gladiator style. There's weapons in the middle. You leave your spot, grab a weapon, and go at it. And that, in some ways, that's a lot scarier than what we see later on. And that's something that was very evident to me personally when I was watching this film in theaters, was that it was more raw, it was more brutal, it was horrifying. That the scene of the beginning of the games where they had to leave their spots and run to the, for lack of a better word, cornucopia, which is just a pile of rubble after rebel bombings in the middle, was scary. We didn't get to experience this really, not really, because in the first film, during the initial game starting, we don't spend a lot of time, or a lot of time, with people getting killed. We see shots here and there, and it's very it jumps around quite a bit. But we're here, we're in with the handheld camera, we're there with Lucy as she's trying to get to Jessup, who is the male tribute from District 12. And it's so scary. The clip of this is on the internet. It was officially released. I think it's better to see it in the context of the entire film. But if you're interested in what I'm talking about, go look at that clip. It's called Run. It is brutal. But then the rest of it's brutal, because there are points where you have to see all this violence, and it makes my skin crawl. I had goosebumps the entire time, and it really scared me. It felt like a horror movie at points. And there's this horrible scene where I don't know all the tributes names or anything, but there's a wonderful, adorable actress who has Down syndrome, who is in the film, and her parts really hit home. They're very, very brief, but they were very powerful to me. Her death scene really got me because it was just so upsetting. She came out wondering if the games were over and if they could go home. It ripped my heart out. I was sobbing like a baby, and I don't know. It was just a very visceral, raw experience for me. And I wonder what the first games would have felt like if Francis directed it instead of Gary Ross. But I still love the first movie very much, so I'm not docking it at all. But this is the most emotion inducing for me out of all the films, and I am very excited to see it again. I know I'm all over the place, but it's because I have a lot of thoughts and I'm trying to be as coherent as possible, but it's very hard. And that's it on the movie, I guess. I want to watch it again. It's by far my favorite movie this year. And it was a very faithful adaptation. I think they should all be very proud of themselves. So I know this was a little unhinged, I'm sorry, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video of me kind of just discussing my feelings about the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Let me know what you guys thought about the book and the movie. I would really love to know. And if there are points that you think I missed that I should have brought up, because I'm sure there are, because I'm not going off of script, I'm just going off of what comes to mind first, let me know, and I can maybe either do a part 2 or just answer in the descriptions below. But yeah, I hope you guys I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and be looking for hopefully some Hunger Games content from me later on. I do plan on starting the first book soon, and I do maybe plan on vlogging. I might do discussion video, I don't know. We'll just have to see how I'm feeling. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video again, and yeah, follow me on my Instagram. I'm Low Rusty. Follow me on my Instagram, and I hope to talk to you guys soon. Until next time, I hope you have a positive experience in your life, and I will see you next time. Bye.